What's going on, people who follow Vertigo, the stupid little Vertigo? It's your boy Mego right now, and as you know by clicking on the title, this is an announcement sort of thing. It is a explanation of the rules of a new lock format I came up with and I'll be doing with Vertigo on his channel. So basically what we're doing is a Diamond and Pearl card lock. Now what is a card lock, you may ask? Well, a card lock follows the basic rules of a Nuzlocke, in being that number one, any Pokemon that you let faint is just dead forever. Some people like releasing them, some people like boxing them permanently. Basically, it doesn't matter as long as you don't use it anymore. I mean, HM slaves are, if absolutely necessary, okay, but if you have something that can learn it that's not dead, it's preferred to use that. Second rule being the first encounter on every route is your only encounter. So say I find, let's go back to Emerald as a starting point, because we haven't done that, so there's a little bit of mystery to what we might get. Emerald, you find Zigzagoons and Poochyena on the first route. So the first encounter is a Zigzagoon. Zigzagoon, if you catch it, it's yours. If you let it die, then it sucks to suck. If you run away from it, it sucks to suck. If that Zigzagoon, that one Zigzagoon that you found, does not get caught in that battle, you don't get an encounter for that route. If you're just like, no, but I wanted a Poochyena, sucks to suck. That's not how it works. You're gonna have to deal with it. The only exception to those two rules is that those two rules don't come into play until you get the Pokeballs, because it's kind of unfair for you to not count like your first 3 encounters until you get the Pokeball. Like, it doesn't work that way. It's not fair. So that's sort of a clause on there. And then the last one, which is pretty basic, and I do it anyways, even if I'm not doing a Nuzlocke, is just nickname all your Pokemon. It helps you form a stronger bond with them, and it doesn't hurt to have something that you can call them, rather than just like Chimchar used Ember. Hey, we're like, I'm Super Chimp used Ember. Like, it's more emotional, sort of. Now, that's the basic Nuzlocke rules, but if you're not dumb, you see there's card rather than Nuz. Now, what the card lock is something I came up with, and basically anytime you either beat your rival, a gym leader, a head of the evil group like Rocket or Aqua or Magma or Galactic, or like a head of that. So in Diamond and Pearl it's Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and Cyrus. Or any predetermined important battle, like you and the person determine ahead of time, this battle or this point is where you get to do it, you get to roll a card. I have a wheel, there's a card lock wheel, and a set of rules that I'm sure I'll have Vertigo put in the description, so you guys can play this kind of lock if you want. I made up a wheel for it and everything that you can spin for it. But basically each card does something different to either harm you or your opponents. Now I'm going to read out the 12 different, I think there's 12. 12 sounds about right. The 12, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, yeah, there's 12. The 12 different Pokemon cards that you can roll. Now for each card there is just a standard and a self version of it. So if you roll the standard one, whoever rolls the standard one gets to use that card on their opponent. If you roll the self one, you have to use that card on yourself. Now, there's one card that sort of like gets a little confusing when it comes to that, but I will sort of explain that when we get there. Now, the first card that I have listed here is the card block card. Now, this is sort of just the card that blocks all cards. So, say you rolled a card block self. You get to choose one Pokemon in your current party that nothing can affect. Your opponent and yourself cannot use any cards on that Pokemon from that point forward. And this is good because that means as long as this Pokemon doesn't die, this Pokemon's going to be a good solid force towards you beating the game. Now I should mention that all the cards have to be used by, they have to be used on a Pokemon that is currently in your party, or a party member, not something in the PC. You can't just oh, I have to do a bad card on myself. Hey, I've got a Kricketot in the PC, let's just use it. No, it has to be something you're currently having in your party. And there are workarounds, which you'll see me and Vertigo probably end up using. Anyways, let's move on to the second card. So the card block, basically, yeah, it's just nothing else can happen. Then the second card I have is the TM ban. Now, once again, self or on your opponent, whichever Pokemon that this card is played on can no longer learn any TMs. or HMs, unless, once again, HM Slave, like I said, for dead Pokemon, unless it's the only thing that can learn an HM, in that point, you may use an HM on it. Another exception later, which is something I'll explain, which is the next card, is a good transition. See, I'm transitioning here, like, woo, woo, woo. So, the next one is the Force TM, in which it's a little complicated, but basically, so say I get this, the standard Force TM, and I force it on Vertigo. So basically, I choose, he has to list off the TMs that are in his bag at the time, and I choose up to 2 of those TMs that he can either use on his Pokemon, or if he doesn't use on that Pokemon, it's supposed to be discarded, but we discovered in Diamond and Pearl you can't, so you have to sell the TM. Which, I mean, it's not that big of a downside, because you get money out of it, but that TM is no longer in your bag, and as you know, in the case of Diamond and Pearl, you get one of those and then it's out. In the case of Black and White, we realized after making it that you can't toss TMs, I don't think, because they're like permanent use. You're just not allowed to use that TM anymore. It's just, you've got to write it down that you can't use, say, Rock Tomb or Wild Charge or whatever the TMs are in that. I don't know, I don't pay attention. So that's basically, it's kind of, there are 2 there that can either be detrimental. One is you play a TM ban on something that relies on TMs to get good moves, or use a Force TM on TMs that you think that your opponent has nothing they can teach it to, just to make them waste the TM. It could come in, like, really handy there. Like, it's the kind of thing where it's situational, and you have to decide what'll be good for me for the long game. Now, our 4th card is the Healing Item ban, and the 5th one is Status Item, and I'll explain both of these similar because they're 2 different cards. Now, the moment one of these cards is played on a Pokemon, no full restores. Absolutely not. It just doesn't happen because it basically breaks both of them. The Healing Item ban is whoever this card is played on, like, say I played it on Vertigo, I choose one of his Pokemon where he can't use healing items on, or he can't use status items on in the case of status item ban. If it was a self card, I get to choose one of my own Pokemon. So basically the order of severity for getting a card used is you rather have yourself use it on yourself rather than your opponent, because your opponent then gets the power to screw you over more. So it's sort of like, I don't know an analogy to give you guys, but like it's the lesser of 2 evils almost. So in any case, you're not allowed using full restores, and basically the only way to either heal status or healing based on what card it is you can go to the Pokemon Center. If you get poisoned and you have a status item ban, sure as hell hope you have enough potions to make it back. If you don't, your thing's dead. I'm sorry, there's not much you can do. Those 2, like in the Elite Four especially, are going to be like terrible, and I have a feeling it's going to stack. So say I were to use a status item ban on Vertigo's Grovyle, let's say, if we're playing Hoenn, because I keep going back to Hoenn, use it on his Grovyle. I then get a healing item ban. My best case scenario is to play it on the Grovyle, because then Grovyle is a sitting duck. There's not much Grovyle can do. It becomes almost useless in a sense. So those can stack, and they can work really well. And then our, 6th card? Yeah, 6th card, that seems about right. 6th card is the Locked Moveset card. Now this one of my favorites, and it's going to be excellent for early game if one of us get it, is basically you choose a Pokemon on whoever's team it affects, and their moveset cannot change at all. There is exceptions when it comes to TMs and HMs, so basically you don't learn anything from level up. There are only 2 situations where you can teach this Pokemon a new move. One, if a Force TM card is played, you may use a TM on this Pokemon. So then the Force TM card itself could come in handy because you're like, oh crap, what can I teach to this thing? Oh, I can use that, so Force TM on that. Like it's sort of a mind strategy sort of thing. You want to figure out what you can use to your advantage. And the other exception to this rule is if an HM needs to be used. Once again, this whole HM thing. If there's absolutely nothing else, like you have to prioritize other things learning it over this Locked moveset, but if it is the sole thing that can learn it, you can teach an HM to it. The 7th card is the Evolution Lock. similar to the locked moveset where it can't learn any Pokemon, it's kind of self-explanatory, where Evolution Lock means from that point forward, that Pokemon can't evolve. So, like, you've got a Prinplup? Oh, guess what? Evolution Lock, you're never getting that Empoleon. I mean, Prinplup is power, but Empoleon's never come to your team. So it's like, you gotta work with what you got. Also good for early game, because if you're locking Stage 1 Pokemon, they're dead. Like, they're useless. They're never making it far. Then, an actual good card. I know these have all been awful, like, completely awful. The good card is the Battle Animation card. And this basically means whoever it's used on can turn off their battle animations for 15 minutes of the verses. And that can actually get you pretty far ahead, because one person's watching all the attacks go by, you're speeding through battles like it's nothing. And that's amazing, and like, if that gets used, then they're gonna speed ahead and get a massive lead, because while 15 minutes doesn't seem like a lot, it's gonna be a massive gap. So then, wait, 1, 2, 3, I keep losing track of the card number I'm on. I think this is 9? Yeah, this is card 9, I think. What, something, okay. 9 is Noble Sacrifice. Now, this is my favorite card, and it's the most complex. Hey, listen. Thank you for butting in, Vertigo. Yeah, he was like, guys, I swear I won't talk. I swear I won't talk. I swear, guys, I know. Aiden, I know I'm a scrub. I know I'm Vertigo the Skarmory, but I won't talk. Anyways, and shh, this is my baby. The Noble Sacrifice card is my favorite, and because basically, so say I roll this is the one that's kind of confusing. Noble Sacrifice Self means you get to choose. Noble Sacrifice Standard means your opponent gets to choose, so it's kind of reversed in the sense of self and stuff. So whoever draws this card can immediately kill, or faint, or basically, in the sense of Nuzlocke, make it dead, another one of your opponent's party members. So, like, say Vertigo has this Grovyle again, and I'm like, hey, I got the Noble Sacrifice Self. That Grovyle, it's gone. The catch is I have to also kill off or sacrifice one of my own Pokemon. And like I said earlier, it can't be that stupid little Kricketot sitting in PC that's not being used. Like, you've got to actually use or sacrifice something that's in your party at the time. So it's risk versus reward, what you think you can sacrifice. You can also choose not to use it. That's the one card you can choose not to use it. But it's a good card, and I can see it putting in work and making people angry. So our 10th card is the Power Limit card. And I know it's taken a while to announce, but it's a little complicated, but it's actually fun once you get into it and you actually know all the rules to it. It's fun to actually play along and actually add these challenges to yourself. Our 10th card is the Power Limit card. And so basically, once again, similar to the Locked Moveset or TM Ban, you choose a Pokemon, and from that point forward, the Pokemon can no longer learn a move of 60 base power or more. So, 60 base power, not that high. If it already knows a move of higher power, it may keep it. So, like, say it already knows, I don't know, what's higher than 60 base power move? Hyper Beam. If it knows Hyper Beam already, it can keep Hyper Beam. If it doesn't, and it wants to learn Hyper Beam, tough luck, you're sticking under 60 power, or 60 power or less. Another exception, and I keep coming back to it, is if it's the sole thing that can learn an HM, like Waterfall or something, it can learn Waterfall. So, like, it's kind of, the most exceptions is the HM situation, where you need an HM, and it's the slave that needs to learn the HM. So, I mean, you kind of hope it's the only thing that can learn it, but if there's something in your box that can learn it, then you have to teach it to it. Another thing to note is that even if something that's dead in your box can learn it, you have to teach it to the dead thing over breaking the power limit. or breaking the locked moveset. Like, that's the sense of, like, you prioritize actually dead Pokemon learning it over locked Pokemon learning it. The 11th card is the Reencounter card. So basically, you choose whoever it's used on has to either re-encounter one of their last 3 encounters, and whoever draws the card has the choice of which encounter they re-encounter. So say Vertigo catches a Wingull, a Poochyena, and a Wurmple, and I get the re-encounter card. I then choose that he has to re-encounter his Wingull, because that's the best of the 3, I think. If he were to get it, he could choose which of the 3 he encounters. So I'm probably Wurmple, or Poochyena. So, like, but it has to be one of the last 3. It can't be like, oh, you got a Snorlax 15 encounters ago? Yeah, re-encounter that. Now, like, no, you've been using the Snorlax forever. It'd be too much of a setback to make you re-encounter that. So it's like, it kind of makes you just, you don't have to go back and get it, the re-encounter. You can basically box whatever you've been using and go back and get it later. Because, like, you might not want to be set back that far. Or you might want to go back and get that encounter now while you still can, and while you remember it, because you'll probably forget about it later. And our last card, and the final card, is the Broken Bike card. Now, this one does not come into play until you get the bike. If you roll this card, or if you spin for this card, then you can just respin, because it kind of takes away the fun. I think we had like 4 spins of the Broken Bike before we got the bike. Something like, I don't know. But basically this card affects, basically, what it does is if whoever this is used on cannot use their bike until the next important battle or their card draw. So this could be really easy or really hard, because I could be standing in front of Jupiter, Vertigo just finished the Jupiter battle, he could roll Broken Bike and I'll be like, oh nuts, I can't use Broken Bike until I fight the next important battle. Oh look, Jupiter's dead and I can use it again. Or, on the vice versa, I could have just finished the Jupiter battle, gotten a completely useless card, and then Vertigo finishes the Jupiter battle and rolls Broken Bike, and I'm sitting there like, oh, okay, so now I have to wait until, what, the 3rd gym to... oh no. So, it can be pretty harmful to your speed. More harmful than the battle animations, maybe, but, like... I think we haven't, like, I think that one will get rolled often, and will actually cause huge dents in time for both sides, so it'll kind of even out. But yeah, so those were the 12 cards that we've gone over. Like I said, there's always, on the wheel, there's those cards, and then there's a self version of those cards that you have to use it on yourself. So, link in the description to the wheel I created, and the Cardlocke paste bin that I wrote up, if you want to read through the rules again, rather than going through the video. But I think it's better just to have it explained and to know what we're doing if you don't really like reading. I mean, like, you got the voice, my nice soothing voice as opposed to the scratchy ugliness of Vertigo. But with that, guys, that's everything I got for you guys.